Siege X is just around the corner, so in today's video, I want to go over the top 12 best defenders for solo queue ranked. Now, the first one I want to go over is, of course, Fenrir. Fenrir was the most banned defender on PC for the last season, and there is a reason why. First of all, his loadout is super versatile. You have the MP7, which is a great SMG. You also have a bailiff for sight setup and a BP for bulletproof information. Not only that, of course, you have the F-Not Dread Mine, which essentially makes it to where nobody can see when you walk in the mine, giving you free kills if you're playing off of them correctly. In a meta that is sort of slowing down but still has shields in it, people are going to be a lot more cautious of these mines, especially because Fenrir's been in the game so long. But I don't think that makes him any less lethal if you simply just play off of your mines from a distance and get free kills. He's one of the most frustrating defenders to go against and one of the most satisfying defenders to play if he's on your side, which is why I think Fenrir is great for solo queue. You also don't need any team coordination. All you have to know is where they're pushing from and activate your mines, and you still get value even when you're dead, which is why I love Fenrir so much and you should start playing him. Now, that was just one out of 12 different defenders I'll be going over in this video. But before I continue the list, let's go over some honorable mentions so that you can see who I wanted to put on the list, but I just didn't make room for. The first of which is Doc. Doc is a great solo queue defender, especially in the low ranks when people are getting body shotted a lot, but especially on PC and especially in high ranks. If you get headshotted, you can't get healed by Doc. He does have a bailiff for sight setup, he does have info with barbed wire, and an ACOG on defense, plus he can heal and revive people. But I think there are people with a lot more impactful utility that you can bring. Doc, great defender, do not get me wrong, but I just didn't find room for him in a top 12 list. I also want to put Mira in the honorable mentions list. Great defender, do not get me wrong again, but there are some sites where she absolutely sucks. She's a very situational operator. You have to play her on the right site with the right lineup, with a Jaeger or a Mai in front of you for you to get any value and you just not get your Miras ashed off the map immediately. So, very situational. You have to have a little bit of coordination for Mira to work. That's why I put her in honorable mentions. Great defender, just not in the top 12 for solo queue ranked specifically. But now let's continue on with the top 12 list. In my second place spot is going to be Azami. Azami is probably the best defender in the game. Again, these defenders are not in order of worst to best. I'm kind of just throwing them in the list. But Azami is probably the best, if not the second best defender in the entire game right now. I'll talk about who the first is later. But for now, let's go over her loadout. Obviously, you have the 9x1 9VSN SMG. Crazy, easy to use SMG. A lot of ammo, pretty good damage. You also have the Deagle for even more damage or sight setup as well to make head holes, feet holes, whatever you want to do. You have impact grenades to finish kills or to break barricades when you put them down to surprise enemies. You also have barbed wire for information if you're holding a power position and you need to know if you're getting flanked. But obviously you have the Kiba barrier kunai knife. This thing makes it to where you can have up to 5 different deployable shields on the map in one single round. Absolutely insane. You can plug off doors to cover angles as well if you want to play like smoke, or you can just use it like deployable shields like I said earlier. You can make pixel peeks if you're a real nerd about it and you have lineups. Great defender overall, very overpowered in my opinion. Somebody a lot more balanced but still a great defender though is Valkyrie. Now Valkyrie's become pretty underrated because there are a lot of defenders like Fenrir and Azami that are kind of outshadowing her, but before those operators came out, Valkyrie was the best defender in the game. You have 3 cameras that give you information that are really hard to find. You also have a nitro cell that you can pair up with these cameras too, plus an MPX which has absolutely 0 recoil, and a Deagle for sight setup like I talked about with Azami. It's essentially Azami with a different gadget. The mark of a good solo queue operator, in my opinion, is an operator that you can put your utility down and still get value out of even when you die, and Valkyrie fits that mold to perfection. Somebody that you probably shouldn't die as, though, is this next operator, which is Cade. Now, I wanted to put a wall denial operator on this list that was the most reliable that you can use in the most amount of situations, and I think Cade is the best because you can get hatches, you can get multiple walls, you can Cade trick. You also have sight set up with the TSG if you can use that weapon, which is so satisfying when you get good with it. And obviously, you have a nitro cell that you can use if someone's on your hatch trying to get it open. You can just nitro them to kill them very easily. If you get good, you can also Cade trick, which makes it way easier to keep stuff closed, especially in solo queue ranked when your enemies aren't really that good. You can pretty much win your team entire rounds by just tricking the wall the entire round. He's absolutely crazy. Pair that up with just the raw ability to keep a wall closed, and you can K-trick catches too, I forgot to mention that. Cade is just a monster of a defender if support is more your playstyle compared to fragging. Now, I haven't really talked about this in today's video, but a huge meta that's going on right now, as many of you know, is Attacker Ballistic Shields. And somebody who counters that is an absolute meta pick, top 12 defender in my opinion, is Legion. Legion does slow down a shield, and the shield can't do much unless they pull out your mine. You have a lot of mines, and these mines give you information when they're stepped on because they make a loud noise. So Legion is perfect for slowing down those shield rushes and also getting a lot of information in the process, which is key if you're trying to solo queue Siege. You also have the T5 SMG, which is one of the easiest SMGs to control in the entire game, but also one of the best, and a super sortie for site setup, as well as a BP for extra information on the objective. A great, versatile, but most importantly, easy to use defender that will get you value every single time you play him. Every single time. There's not one round with Legion will not get you value. Even if people aren't hitting your traps or shooting them, you'll still hear that, right? So you get a bunch of information with this operator, which is great. Speaking of information operators, though, there is one more that I want to talk about on today's list, and that, of course, is Melusi. Now, just like Legion, you have the capacity to counter shields with Melusi's loadout. And that is because Melusi brings impact grenades, which can, of course, damage the shield player and move their shield out of their face, as well as the actual Banshee Sonic defense, which will slow them down and make their shield shake when they're in it. You have an MP5, which if you've played Doc, you know is pretty easy to use, as well as a secondary shotgun to set up the site. But more importantly, the actual Banshee is crazy. You have 4 of these, 4 of them, that are completely bulletproof until activated, and you can set up site by yourself, and you have impact grenades. That's just so much raw utility and site setup and power in one single operator that it would be a mistake not to put them on this list, and I can't really phrase it otherwise. Like, Melusi just has to be in your top 12. If it's not, you haven't played Melusi enough. Now, somebody I'm sure you're all expecting to be on this list is, of course, Warden. Warden is pretty good, but I think he's a little bit underutilized for people who aren't on console because the SMG-12 is a lot harder to use on PC. But make no mistake, Warden is a great operator. If you have a Warden on the board, it is naturally going to stop people from wanting to play that Ying or play that Blitz, which is going to get you a lot of value. You also have the SMG-12 and shotgun sight setup combo, so you can get kills with the SMG-12 long range, or short range kills with the shotgun, and of course set up sight. Not to mention, you could run the MPX, which you talked about on Valkyrie, already having like very easy to control recoil. And then to top it all off, you have the option of bringing a deployable shield to hold a room, or a nitro cell to get an extra kill if you don't need the shield, right? So you bring Warden every round preemptively if you think they're gonna do a site rush with, let's say, a Glaz, a Ying, a Blitz, any smokes, whatever it may be, or you do it if you just want to frag out with good utility and site setup, and Warden brings all of that. If you're a fragger and you can use the SMG-12, bring Warden every round, you will get value out of him, I promise you. Another defender that the console community has put me onto is this next defender on this list, which is Goyo. I think he is the best area denial in the game right now. Smoke is obviously a great defender and has been, but I think he's a bit outshined by Goyo in today's current meta. Why is that the case? First of all, let's go over pure weapon selection. You have the Vector, which is the best SMG in the game, hands down, but it has an ACOG on it. It has an ACOG on it. Not to mention, you can have the TCSG for site setup too, which also has an ACOG, and it's a DMR pretty much on defense, which is really, really easy to use if you get good at it. Plus you have impact grenades, or a BP, or procs alarms, which are all 3 pretty good secondary gadgets. All of that loadout is usually enough to get people to play the operator if it wasn't for the fact that you also got 80 seconds of area denial. That's like a third of the round of just like straight area denial that you can deny, right? Because each Goyo canister lasts 20 seconds. There's 4 of them. It has a very large radius. It's fire and not smoke, so it does a lot of damage too. Just by far the best area denial operator, especially in solo queue ranked, because you can just put down all of your utility and then you could die and your teammates can still use it, whereas Tachanka and Smoke, you don't get that luxury. Plus, you don't have to use his ability mid-round, which means you can do whatever you want and roam if you want to with impacts and an ACOG and a Vector. Like, he's just so good for solo queue ranked. Definitely a top 5 in my opinion, for sure. Now, somebody I'm a little bit less passionate about, but still does a lot of explosive damage, would be Kapkan. Now, Kapkan is the most banned defender in high elo on console for a reason, and it's purely because he's just annoying. Is he easily counterable by just looking at a doorway? Sure, but if you know you're going to out-mechanically out-frag everybody on that enemy team because they're bad, you kind of just want to run in, with IQ or Ash or Buck and just shoot some heads, and Kapkan can stop you from doing that. He also has a lot of different points of contact like Legion, which makes it to where he has a lot of information. Pair that up with the fact that he just lost his Nitro for barbed wire. Now you have even more information, plus the 9x19, which we talked about on the zombie being easy to use, and the PMM, which is a great pistol. Kapkan just kind of brings it all and makes it to where you have to play a lot more cautiously, which can make you get in your own head when you're playing the game. Also, if you have dumb randoms, going into a Kapkan sucks because you might have the brain to shoot a Kapkan trap, but your teammates are going to die to a Kapkan trap when the dumbass Kapkan puts 3 traps on a window in the middle of sight, right? So like sometimes you just can't trust your teammates not run into him, so you want to ban him. And that's why he's so good, is because you just count on the enemy team being dumb and you get value, and a lot of the times you're gonna get value, right? So Kapkan is great. If you are not banning him, just play him. You'll get value, I promise. Now, next up on the list is somebody else who also has the SMG-12, and that is the best roamer in the game right now, which is Vigil. Now, again, let's just go over the loadout. Not even talking about the ability, let's just go over the loadout. You have the SMG-12, best secondary in the entire game, probably. The Boss G, which even after the nerf, at most distances that you're using this thing is going to one-shot. If you're at a distance where this isn't one-shotting, you don't even need to be shooting people from that distance, because it's still one-shots over most distances, right? Plus the SMG-12, which, like, if you just hit the head, one-shots anyways. Plus impact grenades on the roam, which allows you to finish kills with people that you downed with the Boss G, or to make yourself rotate on the fly on a roam, which is really good, or a BP for information. And if you don't even want to run Boss G, you have the K1A, which is like really easy to use, right? So all of that, not even talking about his ability. His ability is a lot more insane than people think. Not only can you completely avoid any drones, whether it be normal drones, Twitch drones, Flores drones, Bravo drones, whatever, you can also avoid Grimbees, you can also avoid Lion, you can also avoid Deimos. You can avoid all of these operators that most people are playing, and all you have to do is ban Dokkaebi, and then nobody counters you. Even like Jackal after the nerf, he can only track you one time with one ping, and then he can't track you the rest of the game. Which means like he doesn't even counter you anymore. So Vigil, his value just went up immensely, right? So Vigil probably the best roamer in the game, and it's going to stay that way until they add recoil to the SMG-12. All I can really say. Somebody else who was great for denying information on drones is the next operator on this list, which of course is Mute. Now, Mute specifically is really, really, really good for solo queue, right? Just because of the amount of versatility that you have. Not even going over the ability, let's just go over the loadout. You have the M5 90A1 shotgun, one of the best and most reliable shotguns in the game that you probably have the most experience on because it's so old. And also, you have the ability to set up sight with it. Not to mention, you have the SMG-11, which is really good for getting kills because it has low recoil compared to a lot of other SMGs in the game. And all of that, plus a nitro cell to get kills off of information for like default plants and stuff, right? Now let's go over the part that actually makes him good, which are his signal disruptors or his mute jammers, right? You can keep walls closed. You have 4 of these, which makes it to where you have 4 points at which you can keep walls closed. You also can deny drones. You also can get out of a Dokkaebi call. You can get out of Grimbees. You can get out of a Deimos track. You can get out of a lot with a mute jammer by just literally standing in it. It's not that hard, right? So Mute, very low skill floor, very easy to play, but you get so much value out of Mute, and that is why he is one of the best defenders, especially for solo queue players where your teammates kind of need utility that you don't need to constantly parent them with, right? But somebody who doesn't give your teammates any utility that you can use completely by yourself and is arguably the best defender in the entire game right now, that I guarantee you did not see coming, is the final operator on this list, which is the new and reworked Clash. I have a very hot take on this operator based off of my playtest on the test server, which I've been playing for a little under a week now. I think hands down she's the best defender in the game. Now, take that with a bit of grain of salt because it's still early on, and the enemies I'm going against, to be truthful, aren't really that good. So maybe they don't know how to counter me, but what I will say is the Clash that we have now is literally the same exact Clash we had before, but you have more that you can do. You have a higher skill ceiling, so it's nothing but a buff, right? And in a shield meta, where Clash can counter shields, this makes her increasingly more valuable. But I think, even with that as a baseline, I still think Clash is better than any other defender right now, and I'll tell you why. First of all, you have the SMG9, and at first it doesn't look like much, but if you look at the stats of this SMG compared to the stats of the F2, they're almost identical, which is why a lot of people call this the mini F2, because it is that good and it has even less recoil than the actual F2. You also have impact grenades, which can be used in tandem with your shield to destroy it, ADS, and then shoot somebody. None of that matters though, because the shield is insane. I just made a video playing Clash, the new Clash, for 24 hours. If you want to check that out after this video, you definitely should, because not only can you have a shield that you can put down, that you can shock to just completely close down a choke, and then you can swing off of it with your SMG while it's shocking people. Like, you can do that, which is unbelievable. Not only can you do that, but if your shield is down and you die, your teammates can play off of it, and if the shock mode is on when you die, it will still shock people when you're dead. So if your teammates are playing off of a shield that's shocking, it's like you never died and your teammates have a gun behind a Clash shield that's even better than yours. What? Like, Clash is overpowered. Not only that, right? But like, you can sit behind your shield as it's shocking people and then vault through it while you're ADS'd and shoot people. You can make pixel peeks with Clash shield that slows people down and peek people with your thing. And then if they even dare to try to grenade your shield or Zofia your shield or use any utility that has soft destruction to kill your shield, all you do is pick your shield up before it explodes, and then it doesn't destroy your shield. So none of the counters that Ubisoft even intended to counter the shield can counter her if you're just playing on your shield and you pick it up as the Zofia is about to shoot you, or the grenade's about to go off, or like the Flores drone's about to go off. You just pick the shield up, right? There's so much you can do as Clash, and she's so funnily just uncounterable right now that I can't in my right mind not say that she's the best defender in the game, at least based off of how I've played her. So, with that out of the way, that's it for today's video. Let me know if you watched to the end by commenting Clash, and then check out this next video on your screen.